Hallo und herzlich willkommen bei Boost TV. Heute bei uns zu Gast die Band Health aus Los Angeles, Kalifornien, die ein Gastspiel in der Prinzenbar gibt. I mentioned earlier you're from Los Angeles. How did you guys get together and founded the band?
It's not a terribly interesting backstory, but Jupiter and I went to college together, and we wanted to start a band after we finished. And then I met John working at a guitar store in Hollywood, and then we met the drummer Beej on the internet. And there you have it. It's fascinating.
And then we just spent 3 hours, 4 hours a day, 5 days a week practicing, and then went on tour like 4 months after joining as a band and just worked our asses off.
Yeah, we weren't like super hipster, like going to lots of shows and like, oh, hey, we know everybody who's playing shows. We should just start a band. It was like we just kind of hermetically sealed ourselves in a practice space in order to like get away from our girlfriends or the jobs we hated and just like drink beer and like talk about what it would be like to be in a band that could play shows and just bitch about how bands sucked.
Spent more time talking and bitching than we actually did writing music, but we spent a lot of time together. And,
Spent a lot of time writing music too. There's just a lot of talking and bitching.
Now, Los Angeles is not only a very big city, it also has many places where bands and musicians play. You have hundreds and thousands of bands, actually. Isn't that a very tough competition?
Yeah. Kind of depends on... Well, we got pretty lucky. Mm-hmm. So it's like it's hard for me to... this was like really our first band, and like the first time I really tried to start a band in a city was in Los Angeles, so we were very fortunate to have the luck to be in the right place and time to get absorbed into a very supportive community, which was based around kind of like a reactionary, like not trying to be a part of the Southern California music industry thing. But yeah, I think it can be at least there's a lot of places to play shows, but it can be a hard place to be a band. Like as you said, like just where we practice alone, there's hundreds of bands in one warehouse, so
it can be pretty thankless. There's a whole system in Los Angeles called pay to play. I don't know if there's much of that out in Europe, but you actually have to buy 40 tickets and then or something like that, sell them to your friends so that people actually come to the show. And that's the only way you can actually get a show in certain parts of the city. So it's a terrible way.
There's much more of an infrastructure for underground bands to play art galleries or lofts or like a warehouse space. But if you're a band that's trying to be like the next Guns N' Roses and you move from like Omaha, Nebraska, a lot of like these pay-to-play places are also sort of a letdown, I think, for people who know anything about the musical history of Los Angeles. They're at a lot of times very historic places, like the Whiskey, where like the Doors did. A residency is now a pay-to-play venue.
Sucks now.
And so it's like, and because there is that musical legacy and people moving to the city, it's just like the most lucrative thing for them to do is, like Jupe said, like you buy 50 tickets or whatever. But at like $12, it's never like what we would play, like what we'd call a DIY, do-it-yourself show, which would be like $5. Yeah. It'd be like $12, and then you got to whore out your friends and be like, hey man, and then so your friends are like, know that you're dedicating your life to your band. It's like, no, I gotta go because they're just trying to play a show, and then it's you got to pay like $12 for parking and like $10 for a beer. So it's just like this, yeah. So luckily we never, long story short or short story long rather, we never had to do that. We were lucky. Things you can do is figure out what sort of, like in terms of musicality, what things you have in common, what things people can like sort of be sympathetic to each other within, and like things that are emotionally moving to you. And so like for us, it was finding out like, okay, we all love like rock music, like that's the defining. So it's like, so that's even though our music doesn't sound like Black Sabbath, there's this element of like heaviness or physicality that we're trying to convey.
One of the first times I was like, wow, I really like John is when he told me that he used to sit and play Yes on his bass, because I really liked Yes too. Jake and I, the first time that we really became friends was over Black Sabbath and the Smiths, and BJ's love of Led Zeppelin and all of that.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, you know, like, I'm not sure if I trust this guy. And then it's like, you like Sabbath? It's like, I thought you were a fucking dick. And then it's like, I guess that's cool, you know, so little by little. People go saying like, oh, I hope this band sounds as good live as their record does. And then, you know, for us, our concern is more like, I hope people like the record as much as they like us live, but we feel comfortable in the live realm.
Yeah, so dealing with the first record was actually a really terrifying prospect because, like Jake said, we kind of cut our teeth doing it live. We're really comfortable as a live band, and then we're like, wow, how do we communicate this into a recorded medium, which is actually a very, very difficult thing to do depending on the type of music that you're doing. When it's rock music, when it's loud or experimental or noisy, and you still want it to convey emotion and power, that's actually a huge challenge in the studio.
Yeah, and especially because like people will ask, and not to be like antagonistic or overly simplistic, but it's like, so, you know, what are some of the shortcomings of like a record? And it's just, you guys doing a record, and it's like, well, it's not going to be loud enough. I mean, we're like a noise rock band. It's really physical and like aggressively physical music when you see it live, and there's just like, that's your first immediate. And people will say like, yeah, just, you know, it was so much more powerful live. It's like, yeah, dude, it's because we were playing at like 115 decibels, you know?
Didn't even go that
like,
loud.
there's no way. So that, I mean, that's immediately like a hurdle, because like textural music or electronic music or like indie music, a lot of it is like a character of sound and like and being able to create like depth in like the kind of tonal qualities you're getting, and that can be massively successful, whereas we've discovered recording like a rock record, like, you know, getting a Led Zeppelin record to sound the way it does is harder than making like a soft or like a folk record or something, because you're dealing with something that's bombastic, which does not actually lend itself to recording as easily.
Now, when such a tour, which must be quite exhausting as well, although there is a fun part in it, I'm sure. When you guys come home, do you need to take some time off from each other?
He puts it in my face because I'm the one who complains about this the most. Yes, we definitely do, although unfortunately there's really, that's not as much of a luxury as we would like. I mean, really, when we get off of this tour, which is a little over 2 months, this block, but really is for almost like a 4-month block of touring on the whole, it would really benefit us to take a month off and just be like, all right, hey, fuck you. We're going to hang out away from you for a bit, but we really have to get back to work as soon as we get home.
Yeah, we need to write a new record.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's fine, though. We like, as far as bands go, we get along really well. It's just we spend so much time together. It would be nice to have a break.
Writing for us, less so than it used to be, is very tedious and stressful. Although I'm looking forward more to writing now. Recording is just horrible.
Yeah, I mean, well, they're complete polar opposites as far as playing live to the writing process. Where live is spontaneous and visceral and all that. The writing process is the four of us cooped up in a tiny room, fleshing out ideas in a very, very painstaking way.
Sometimes arguing with each other a lot.
Lots of arguing, lots of frustration, lots of passive aggressive. Like it's just one of those things where there's a lot of strong personalities in the band, and like in a lot of ways that works together, but in a lot of ways it causes us each a lot of stress. But we're learning how to work with each other better and better as time goes on.
Yeah, I mean, there's different bands that say like, you know, we really don't like touring. We want to just get in and write. And I definitely think we're a band that really likes playing shows. Yeah.
Good. Okay, thanks, guys, for sharing your precious time. We wish you lots of fun tonight, and good luck for the future. We're looking forward to a new album, and hopefully see you soon.